The Radical Power of Showing Up. Lessons from Black Women Who Rise. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt that weight, that unmistakable pressure of being the only one who looks like you? That silent question hanging in the air. Do I belong here? I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Roquel Jackson Shipley, a visionary whose work has transformed how thousands of Black women navigate professional spaces across America. Her insights have fundamentally shifted how I understand authentic presence in these environments. Roquel isn't just sharing wisdom, she's architecting a movement that's reshaping corporate culture through radical authenticity. Her ability to articulate the unspoken challenges faced by Black women while simultaneously providing practical pathways forward makes her nothing short of revolutionary in this space. When Roquel speaks about showing up consistently as your authentic self, she isn't suggesting some lightweight self help concept. She's talking about a radical act of resistance and self love that changes not just individual lives, but entire systems. Let me tell you something that might sound simple, but isn't. Consistency in being fully yourself, especially when you're the only Black voice in the room, is revolutionary. It's not just about personal fulfillment, it's about survival, it's about legacy, it's about creating pathways where there were none before. As Roquel so eloquently put it during our conversation, your consistency builds trust not just with others, but with yourself. That hit me right in the chest. How many of us have dimmed our light, softened our voice, or hidden parts of ourselves to make others comfortable? And what has that cost us? The truth is, we can't advocate for what we deserve if we don't first believe we're worthy of it. This isn't abstract philosophy. It's practical reality that plays out in salary negotiations, promotion discussions, and business deals every single day. I want to share a story that illustrates this perfectly. Letitia Clark founded the Pink Parachute Diaries podcast after witnessing something that broke her heart but fueled her purpose. Talented Black women were not just losing their jobs in corporate America, they were losing pieces of themselves in the process. These women face isolation, lack of role models, workplace bias, and constant pressure to make themselves smaller. The infamous pink slip became more than just a termination notice. It became a symbol of how differently Black women are treated in professional spaces compared to their counterparts who often receive golden parachutes even when underperforming. But Letitia didn't just get angry, she got strategic. She created a platform for authentic storytelling, a safe space where underrepresented voices could be heard without fear or shame. What began as one woman's response to injustice blossomed into an influential network amplifying Black excellence across the nation. This is what happens when we decide that our stories matter enough to be told. When we commit to consistency in showing up as ourselves, there's something almost magical that happens when a Black woman decides her voice matters. The world doesn't always make space for us, but when we claim it anyway, mountains move, systems shift, the impossible becomes merely challenging. But here's what Roquel taught me that changed everything: we don't rise alone. We rise by lifting each other. She emphasized during our interview. True progress happens when we share knowledge, like financial literacy tips or resources for home ownership, and create networks that amplify our collective strengths. This brings me to Christy Lawson's journey, which powerfully demonstrates how embracing identity transforms not just individual careers, but entire communities. Christy navigated being the only one in countless professional settings. She faced the all too familiar biases, having her ideas dismissed until repeated by someone else, being mistaken for support staff instead of leadership, and battling the constant pressure to downplay her accomplishments. After years spent dimming her light due to systemic barriers in corporate America, Christie made a decision that would change everything. She decided that vulnerability was strength, not liability. She began mentoring other Black women, teaching them to leverage their unique perspectives as assets rather than liabilities. The results were transformative. Her mentees developed negotiation skills that led to improved financial security. They shifted from mere gratitude for opportunity toward confident advocacy for fair compensation and recognition. Dozens went on to leadership roles themselves, creating a beautiful ripple effect of empowerment. This is what happens when we decide that our success isn't just about us. When we recognize that the hand that pulls another sister up strengthens the entire community. But let's be honest, this work isn't easy. It requires something that Roquel identified as absolutely essential: accountability. You have the power to alter your circumstances through accountability, taking charge of your actions while encouraging those around you to do the same creates ripple effects that extend beyond individual success into broader community empowerment. Consider Traineen Davis, who championed efforts within her industry not just for diversity targets, but true cultural transformation. She wasn't satisfied with performative inclusion that left systemic racism intact. She wasn't content with tokenism that provided visibility without power. And she refused to accept the lack of intentional mentorship pipelines that kept talented Black professionals from advancing. Instead, Trinine advocated for collective advocacy groups internally. She launched anti racism workshops tailored to her industry's specific challenges. She promoted personal branding tools and resources that helped Black employees position themselves for advancement. The outcomes were measurable: tangible increases in promotion rates among Black employees and a greater sense of belonging reported company wide. But more importantly, Trinine helped redefine what empowerment means institutionally and prove that consistent advocacy plus shared learning equals lasting transformation. This is what accountability looks like in action. It's not just about holding yourself to high standards, though that matters enormously. It's about creating environments where everyone is empowered to grow, contribute, and thrive. As Roquel so powerfully stated, life's greatest lessons come from being both teacher and student. Embracing this duality fuels personal evolution in ways nothing else can. I want to pause here and acknowledge something important. This work is hard. Showing up consistently as your authentic self in spaces that weren't designed for you takes tremendous courage. Building community when you're exhausted from battling systemic barriers requires extraordinary generosity of spirit. And holding yourself and others accountable when the easier path would be to simply go along to get along, that demands uncommon integrity. But here's what I know for certain after my conversation with Roquel: you are already equipped with everything you need to do this work. The strength, wisdom, and resilience you require isn't something you need to acquire. It's already within you, woven into the very fabric of who you are. Your ancestors knew something about showing up consistently in hostile environments. They knew something about building community against all odds. They knew something about accountability that transforms not just individual lives, but entire systems. That wisdom lives in your bones, that courage flows in your veins, that love beats in your heart. So I challenge you today: what would happen if you showed up tomorrow fully yourself in that space where you've been holding back? What might transform if you reached back and pulled another sister forward alongside you? What systems might begin to crack if you held yourself and others accountable with both firmness and love? These aren't rhetorical questions, they're invitations to revolution. Because when we embrace our authentic selves with consistency, when we lift each other up with intention, when we hold ourselves and our communities accountable with the love, we don't just change our individual circumstances, we transform entire systems, we rewrite narratives, we create legacies. The most radical act of resistance is sometimes simply showing up fully yourself day after day after day. It's standing in spaces that weren't designed for you and refusing to shrink. It's using your voice not just for yourself, but for those who will come after you. This isn't just about professional success, though that matters. It's about something far more profound. It's about liberation. It's about creating a world where Black women don't just survive, they thrive, where they don't just have a seat at the table, they build new tables with room for everyone. The power to transform our reality has always been within us, but it requires us to make a choice to be seen, to be heard, to be fully present, a choice to lift as we climb, a choice to hold ourselves and others to the highest standards of excellence and integrity. I invite you to make that choice today, not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready, not when the world feels more welcoming, today, because the world is waiting for the gift that only you can give, the fullness of who you are, showing up consistently, lifting others intentionally, and holding yourself accountable courageously. The revolution isn't coming, it's already here in this room, in you. What will you do with it?